Well, here we are again. It is Mornings in Meridian here on News Talk 102.1 WALT. About 10 minutes into the 7 o'clock hour, the two best hours of local live talk radio here in East Mississippi and West Alabama. And our number, of course, 601-485-9191. We'd love to hear from you here on this Friday Eve. Who are we? I am Rob, and joining me this morning, he's back, looking spiffy. Got his nice shirt on there, his hat, looking very, very nice. Got all of his toys over here, too, his backpack and everything. He's seems like he's moving in now. So it's Dr. Toby Bates.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Fine. I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to be on the air with you and, of course, with you and those watching on the live stream.
On the Facebook.
I'm still getting used to that.
The Facebook.
But the reason I want to thank you so much is a couple of things. One, the furniture... The movers are showing up at the house this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, remember the tornado I was...
Yes.
What's the word? Whining about back in April? That's right. Well, we're finally getting back into our house. The movers are showing up this morning. So you're wondering why I said yes so fast when you asked me if I could drive down from Tupelo and be on the air. I'm like, oh, yes, Kathy, I'm sorry. It's an emergency. I have to be there.
Sweetly.
That's right. And it also gives me an opportunity to show off the WALT.
There it is.
Mornings in Meridian hat.
There it is.
Only $29.99.
Wow.
Contact Roger Burke.
Right, to send the bill.
Yeah. That's right. No. Contact Roger for lots of other things. Great businessman. But no, I had that made, a few years ago.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And it doesn't work with girls. And the last thing I want...
Well, it works with one, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Very good one, too. But the other thing I have to share with you is I put in the phone number for WALT.
Yeah.
In this little phone app I have.
Yeah.
And it would be hard to see on the screen, but it labels our call number, 485-9191, where we want to hear from the listeners, right?
Absolutely.
It listed as somewhat not safe.
Somewhat not safe.
So I don't know if they rated this when hazmat was on or...
it's possible.
There were Ruth and Hazmat going at it, but I thought that was really kind of funny.
Don't be a dumb bunny. Just call that number.
That's right. 485-9191. But thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. We got a lot to get into this morning. I'm going to do my best to pull some audio this morning from Merrick Garland's testimony yesterday. There was a couple of moments yesterday that were very key, I thought, and we're going to get to that this morning because... let's face it, the guy's a liar. Absolutely lied under oath again yesterday.
That's right.
And anybody that goes in front of that Judiciary Committee, they can't give a straight answer.
No.
I mean, they were asking in some aspects just simple yes or no questions, and he wouldn't answer them.
Right.
Just I'm not shocked by it. It still bothers me that. I mean, there was one time where Jim Jordan was absolutely just hammering him,
yes,
and he still wouldn't give him a straight answer.
That's right.
So, and everybody always wonders, we go back to the whole speaker's race with McCarthy and whatnot, and had to go to all these votes, and Jim Jordan kept getting all these votes. Jim Jordan's right where he needs to be.
Right.
The chair of the Judiciary Committee. I would much rather have him there than in the speaker's chair. I think that is a better position for him.
And I'm glad you're going to bring those up a little bit later on because I'm telling you, this has long-range implications.
Yeah, it does.
For the country, for the direction of the country. So good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, let's kick off the show this morning thanking one of our great sponsors. And I tell you what, I've had a lot of great experiences with Martin Roofing, like a lot of you folks have out there. We had a little bit of a damage to our roof about a year or so back. And I tell you what, Doug Martin Jr. and the staff, they came out there and got it fixed up fast, put a new roof on our house, and we were satisfied.
Absolutely. And what we love to hear about our sponsors, and folks, if you hear sponsors on 102.1, go by and deal with them. We don't just pick anybody, right? We don't just let anybody in the door. Well, with the exception of me, I guess. But the fact is, these are folks that are time tested. They're true. They're honest. And one of my favorite things to hear about Martin Roofing is that they came out and did an inspection of the roof, but they didn't tell me I needed anything. They were, they said, hey, your roof's fine. When you have a real problem, give us a call. That really impressed this particular customer. Folks, they're locally owned and operated. And again, any kind of roof at all. We're talking about metal, rubber, commercial roofing, shingles, residential. And they're the kind of folks that aren't going to sell you anything that you do not need. And quite often, maybe your roof just needs a little bit of repair and not the entire roof, because it is quite an investment. They've been around over 30 years, folks, and there's a reason they've lasted 3 decades. Give them a call, Doug Martin, Senior Doug Martin Jr., 601-485-5920, 601-485-5920. You can trust them. They're great. Martin Roofing.
All right, let's go to our phone line. First caller of the day. Hey, caller, good morning.
Mabel, who's that old man in those videos? What do you mean it's me?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are we today?
We are old, tired, and crazy. Not necessarily in that order.
Well, I say we because just in case you're assuming, I know it's kind of an in thing now to assume lots of different identities and genders. And so I think by saying how are we, I'm covering them all. I'm not risking any chance of offending you at all.
Well, there's 3 of me, the old man, the tired man, and the crazy man.
There you go.
There we go.
So, group therapy.
What's going on?
Well, I was listening to, this Fox News thing about, Trump beating Biden, Pence beating Biden, Tim Scott beating Biden in an election if it were held that right now. I agree with them, but I think they left out one of the reasons, and that's age. For some people, like the mayor of Sukalina, they don't ever lose the mental acuity.
Right.
As Biden said, with old age comes wisdom. Right? Okay. And for some people, old age just brings dotage.
Yep.
So I'm thinking he's on the latter and not the former.
I think that's a great point. I mean, we're hearing a lot about Biden's age, and it's not really his age. It's his,
It's his cognitive ability.
His cognitive ability.
Yeah, it's bad.
Physical, too.
Yeah.
Physical, too.
I mean, Ronald Reagan was 80 years old in 1991, and he did several interviews. He was talking about Desert Storm, of course, at that time. He had been out of office, but his vice president had won. But, it's really the mental side. I know a lot of 80. Heck, I know a 90-year-old guy that's sharper than the president.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first house I bought, my neighbor was well into his 90s and still running around hunting and just having a good time. But he never lost a step mentally, not once. And he lived to 94.
Well, caller, let me ask you this. A lot of people thought Reagan kind of played up the age thing a little bit during Iran-Contra, so he could say he couldn't remember certain things. But do you think there's any chance at all Biden is playing this up? If he is, he's an extraordinary actor.
Best Actor award goes to. Yeah.
Any chance of that, you think?
Somebody dinged on me.
Oh, you there?
I have been around people like this, and it's obvious his mental state is in rapid decline. No, I don't even think he'll finish this term. I think he's going to resign before this term's over for health reasons. And the reason is it gets Kamala into the presidency.
Oh, God.
Right. Guess who could become, vice president? Take a good guess.
I don't want to.
He's out there on the West Coast.
Nobody wants Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, well, the Democrats do.
I know they do.
He's young and vibrant, and he's got a lot of press behind him.
Yeah, he's a good leader, too. He's bankrupt California and then some.
Well, I didn't say he was a good leader.
Well, that's a good point.
I said he had a lot of news behind him, that he could, that's all upbeat, by the way.
We ran into this about 30 years ago with Dan Quayle, although if you go back and look at what Dan Quayle did and said and how he handled certain situations like the coup in the Philippines, a little bit better than what we've seen from Vice President Harris. But that was the big question, was who's going to be next for the Republicans if, or not if, but when Bush wins a second term, goes 91% after Desert Storm. And so, and Bill Clinton even admitted when he first ran, when he threw his hat in 1992, he really thought Bush was going to be reelected and he would have his shot in 96 against Quayle. So, yeah, so the choice of the Democrats right now appears to be and a very old president, acting old, seemingly old, and a vice president that no one has any confidence in. And so, yeah, Newsom's kind of circling around. And so, interesting times, folks.
Yeah, Newsom's circling the drain.
There you go.
Because it's not going to get any better.
No.
But it'll happen. And at the same time, what you're going to have is this new COVID is an epidemic and we have to, close down again and do the 6 feet, do the masks, and it'll all be mandated in states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, battleground states. And you're going to have all that same kind of election irregularity going on all over again, because that's the only way they're going to win the next election.
There you go.
And it's I'll base it all on the economy. I hate these Democrats that come out and go, "Oh, but the economy's so good." Hey, the economy is killing me.
Now, you're not using the right word. You're not using the right word there. Bidenomics. They want us to start saying Bidenomics.
Well, now, think about this.
That wasn't
Biden.
COVID.
Anything that requires intelligence, mutually exclusive. Therefore, it can't be Bidenomics. It's the economy. Like Clinton said, it's the economy, stupid.
Right.
And, I mean, gas is more than $1 higher than when Trump was in office.
Yep, that's Russia's fault, right? I keep hearing that.
Russia.
No, that's Biden's fault. That's the liberals' fault. They shut down drilling. They closed off areas. They drained our strategic oil reserves.
Yeah.
Selling it to China.
Yeah.
Come on, people.
Right.
It didn't help anybody in America to sell it to China.
Well, we've got another phone call coming right behind you here, but we appreciate you this morning.
Well, you guys keep at it.
We'll do it.
And Mabel, get me out of here.
We'll do it. All right. 601-485-9191. Let's go to line number 2 and say good morning to our next caller. Hey, caller, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
Y'all got that wrong. It's not Bidenomics. It's Bite-me-nomics.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense to me, actually.
That's good.
Yeah, they're going to try to get the next election where they can just print up ballots, let a computer fill it in, and then slide them through the system. I was watching the show the other night. Of course, everybody already knows all this, but there's quite a few, several of them anyway. They said that they went to check the ballots, and those ballots are made to be folded and sent back in. It said they had never been folded, clean, crisp ballots, computer filled in, and they're running them through the machine.
Wow.
And nobody's checking to see signatures, any of that kind of stuff. But, of course, they all get counted because you can't discriminate or ask if the person that really did the ballot is the person that did it. So,
wow.
Anyway, it's just a lot of junk. Y'all have a good day.
Appreciate you out there. I mean, good grief.
Well, maybe they were too tired to fold the ballots.
Too tired to fold.
Maybe they were in some sort of physical ailment caused by Republicans. They didn't have the strength to fold the ballot,
Toby, I got some audio here I want to play. It's about 5 minutes long, so folks, just bear with me on this. In case you missed any of the testimony yesterday with Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, Representative Jeff Van Drew from New Jersey had a very big moment yesterday. And I thought this would be fun to play this morning to show you how really weaponized the DOJ is right now. So this is courtesy of YouTube.
Yields back. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for 5 minutes. Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Attorney General. Following your confirmation, Americans were promised they were getting a focused, nonpartisan, to lead their federal law enforcement. I had my doubts back then. And the last 2 years have more than confirmed in my mind those fears. Never in my life would I have thought that I would see such a politicized DOJ. Never in my life would I have thought I would see such a Department of Justice that didn't obey their own rules. Never in my life did I think I would see the egregious investigations conducted under your watch, or the blatant disregard of the First Amendment by FBI field officers under your watch. And never in my life did I think I would see our great DOJ turn into a politicized weapon to be wielded by an investigation to attack political rivals. I still hold the thousands of hardworking staff with high regard, but unfortunately there are some within the department, in my mind, who have betrayed their oaths. And for that, you must be held accountable. I hold you accountable for the labeling of parents as domestic terrorists standing up for their proper education of their own children. I hold you accountable for the anti-Catholic memo. Imagine sending agents undercover into Roman Catholic churches because they were supposedly domestic terrorists. And I hold you accountable for unleashing a special counsel with a history of botched investigations on our current president's political rival. The department under your leadership, I am sorry to say, has become an enforcement arm of the Democratic National Committee. Cool. If there is a perceived threat to the Democratic Party, this DOJ attacks every single time. But when there are actionable threats against conservatives, this DOJ stays put. Violent protesters outside the Supreme Court justice's home, unpunished. Attacks on pro-life centers, unpunished. The two-tiered system of justice is clear, and it's clear to the American public. And the buck stops with the man in charge. That man is you. The actions of the DOJ are on you. The decline of Americans' trust in our federal law enforcement is on you. The political weaponization of the DOJ is on you. Attorney General, I need a simple yes or no to the following. Just yes or no, because we don't have much time. Do you agree that traditional Catholics are violent extremists? Yes or no?
Let me answer what you've said in that long list of statements.
I'll
be happy to answer all of those.
Attorney General, I control the time. I'm going to ask you to answer the questions I asked.
You control time by asking me a substantial number of things. And
I didn't ask you those things. I made a statement. Attorney General, through the chair, I ask you, do you agree that traditional Catholics are violent extremists?
I have no idea what the traditional means here.
Catholics that go to church.
May I answer your question?
Yes or no?
The idea that someone with my family background would discriminate against any religion is so outrageous, so absurd.
Mr. Attorney General, it was your FBI that did this. It was your FBI that was sending, and we have the memos, we have the emails, we're sending undercover agents into Catholic churches.
Both I and the director of the FBI have said that we were appalled. Have said that we were appalled by that memo.
So then you agree that they're not extremists?
We were appalled by that memo.
Are they extremists or not, Attorney General?
I think that...
Are they extremists or not, Attorney General?
Everything in that memo is
Are they extremists or not? I'm asking a simple question. Say no if you think that was wrong.
Catholics are not extremists. No.
There we
Was
go.
anyone fired for drafting and circulating the anti-Catholic memo?
You have in front of you the inspection division's investigation.
Just tell me yes or no, please.
I don't know.
We have no time.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Do you agree that parents attending school board meetings should be categorized? Should parents that go to school board meetings and are very vocal about their kids' education, should they be classified as domestic terrorists?
Of course not. And my memo made clear that vigorous objections to policies in schools are protected
So it's no.
by the First Amendment.
The president this week accused you, not the president himself, his staff, and it was in the Wall Street Journal, and it was leaked out, of mismanaging the Hunter Biden probe. Do you agree? Yes or no? It was in the Wall Street Journal article. I'm not saying that.
I'm sorry. Do I agree with the Wall Street Journal?
Yes, and that the information they released that said you botched this probe.
Yeah, I think I have dealt with the Hunter Biden investigation in the way I've told this.
Mr. Chairman, I yield my remaining time to you.
I appreciate it. The gentleman yields back.
Man.
Does that say it all right there?
Man. And let me go ahead and prepare you folks. When you're going to hear how disrespectful he was in that moment and asking those types of questions, that was tame historically.
Yeah.
Right? To what we used to have going back and forth. Extremely tame.
Yeah.
No cameras and TVs back then. So, if you're worried about his feelings over the facts, that was very, very tame.
Yeah. So that was Representative Senator Van Drew from New Jersey. Mm-hmm. But I just thought that was it gives you the true example of cannot answer a simple yes or no question.
Right.
It's simple. Can't do it.
That's right.
It's not that hard. But when you get the evidence in front of you, too, it's kind of hard for someone behind that mic to answer yes or no.
I haven't heard stammering that bad since the last Joe Biden speech.
There we go. So we're going to take a break for some Fox News. We'll be back. Fox News. Well, it's a birthday for Mississippi's own Faith Hill. She is turning 56 today, and her and Tim McGraw are still going. They've been married since 1996.
Right. Did you catch them in 1883, that TV series?
I watched a couple of episodes. I don't need to catch up on that, but pretty good stuff.
Very good stuff.
Yeah, she's 56 today, of course, and other birthdays on the list today. Dave Coulier from Full House. He is 64 today. Also, this ought to be a national holiday. Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray's got a birthday today. 73. I thought he'd been a little older than that. He looks a little older than that.
He's looked that old since about 84.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Luke Wilson, actor, is 52. The late Larry Hagman would have been born on this day. He passed away in 2012. He'd have been 91 today, of course. Who shot JR? So, but he's got a birthday today. Let's see what else we got on the birthday list here. Celebrity chef from the Food Network, Ann Burrell's 54. Stephen King, 76 today. The scary man.
I'm glad you mentioned country music, because if we have time this morning, you remember Maren Morris, who's decided that she's leaving country music?
I saw that story.
And the first thing people said when they heard this was, Who? Right?
Who's that?
But she talked about, that country music has always given a voice to the voiceless. And unfortunately, in the last few years, country music has gone back to its racist roots. Well, that got me to thinking.
Oh, Lord.
Right? Some of our most classic country songs, and again, we'll do this a little later this morning. What if they were written by woke folks, right? And I'll give you one quick example, right?
All right.
You remember this song, I saw the light, right?
I
was
saw the light.
baptized, right? Okay.
Yeah, Brooks and Dunn, yeah.
Right. Well, this one would be, written by a woke person.
Okay.
I saw the light of the flashlight of the racist cop who pulled me over at night. Got a few of those that, again, if country music were written by woke folks.
Gosh, I
that.
can't wait for that. We'll get to that later on this morning. Hey, let's thank our friends right down the road in Meridian at Southern Business Supply. Our good buddy Billy Adam Calvert and them have got office supplies for you.
Absolutely, folks. And when you're in an office space, comfort is important and atmosphere is important. You want to look professional, but you want your workers to be comfortable and be working in a nice open spot, nice clean spot. And Southern Business Supplies, owned and operated for almost 40 years, they've got the stuff for you. They've got the furniture that they can deliver to your office the very next day. They'll even put it together for you, right? They've got a showroom of home and office furniture complete with, not only the desk, the proper desk, but the proper chairs with the proper support and lamps and things such as that. Unlike a lot of places I could mention, they also have an in-house designer. So they can actually come out and look at your place and look at your office, especially these home offices that have popped up in the last few years, and they can actually tell you the best way to lay that out, not only for efficiency, but also comfort, because happy workers are certainly better workers.
Yeah.
And again, they have the office supplies that you need, the janitorial supplies that you need. And they've got that great 5-gallon spring water cooler, which has been shown by scientific studies, people will drink more water when you have a water cooler like that. They'll stop there to get something to drink instead of going out to the Coke machine or whatever. Friendly sales staff, almost 130 years combined experience. So for that home or office, for comfort, right, for efficiency, you cannot do any better than Southern Business Supply. Go by and see them. They're right down the road from us on Dale Drive, 5685 Dale Drive, or give them a call, 485-2447, 485-2447, Southern Business Supply.
Well, Toby, of course, one of the big hot issues here on the show the last several weeks has been the Lauderdale County School bond issue. But this morning, this is my daily thing. I always give the voting precincts out every single day. I feel like we need to do that because this is a very unusual election coming up on October 3rd. But a big story today on the front page of the Meridian Star involving, well, not the Lauderdale County School District, but the Meridian Public School District this morning. Headline reads, MPSD rejects bids for bond projects. Everybody's favorite word, bond. The construction of a sports complex and much-needed addition to the administration and fine arts buildings on the Meridian High School campus have hit a major snag as the Meridian School Board on Monday night rejected all bids for the projects for costing too much. During the regular monthly board meeting, Meridian's Board of Trustees approved a recommendation made by Director of Operations Clay Smith to reject all bids received on August 24th for the new baseball and softball complex, and all bids received on September 12th for the administration and fine arts additions for exceeding the district's budgets for both projects. Sims presented the recommendations on behalf of Gary Bailey of Ridgeland-based Bailey Architecture, which is overseeing the project. Bailey was unable to attend Monday's meeting, and so yeah, big news there involving that, because we just had the school bond issue for the city this past year. It was right there in the summertime of a little over a year ago. So yeah, cost too much. They've rejected the bids initially for those projects. This would allow Meridian schools to maintain promises made to the community when a school bond issue was passed in August of 2022, Sims said. When asked, Sims said the sharp increase in construction and material costs over the last few years led to the projects coming in over budget. It was the second time for the board rejecting bids on sports complex, having rejected bids back in May for being too high. The construction of a shared baseball and softball complex on the Meridian High campus, along with additions to the fine arts and administration's buildings, are part of an improvements package being funded through a $34 million school bond issue approved by voters, well, some voters. I like to put that in there. In August of 2022, once completed, the new sports complex would bring both baseball and softball teams to the Meridian High School campus for games. For years, Wildcats baseball's teams have used QV Sykes Complex across town for its home games, while the Lady Wildcats have used Northeast Park softball complex for their field. All the bond issue projects were originally expected to be completed by December of next year. So yeah, we folks in the city just voted on this past year for that $34 million bond issue. So they're wanting to get projects done by 2024 of December of next year. But looks like some of the bids are coming in way over budget there.
Well, as someone who is, and I've left this up to my wife, she is so much smarter than I on this kind of stuff, but as someone who's just rebuilt a house, I can tell you that construction is going up really by the week.
Yeah.
You know how this works. You contact the insurance folks and say the contractor says it's this much, and then they have what's called a discussion.
Sure, sure.
And then they work out a price. A couple of things stick out with that story. One is that that the architect could not make the meeting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and there's questions to be asked. There might be some people before they vote who might still have a few lingering questions, may have been on the fence. I'm interested about that. I mean, the impact of not having that person there, or a representative of that person there. But Rob, what also about this is the fact that are we seeing progress from other bond issues? Right? That's one thing that's really sticking in people's craws. If we saw these bond issues being passed and extra money and taxes being done, and we're seeing these glorious success stories, well, that's one thing. But I'm not sure people feel like they're seeing that.
Well, and this one right here, too, is a $34 million bond issue with the City of Meridian Schools and, the Meridian Public School District, just to be correct on that. They voted on this last year, and we still haven't got any progress on any of these projects because they're coming in over budget. So $34 million in a bond issue, we've seen no progress yet from a vote that happened last year. So
is there not a way?
Where are we going with this?
Yeah, is there not a way when you're preparing to make this kind of proposal to a city, to a county, that you talk to the supplier and say, look, I'm going to come in and, and because I know our construction company took into account inflation. Yeah. And it was still money over. Sure. And can you not lock these suppliers in for these certain prices to get this kind of...
I don't know how that process works, to be honest. Maybe somebody out there would know. 601-485-9191. We're just dumb radio guys this morning.
Well, let me ask you a question. And this is a way for me to brag on you as well. I know you do the Lamar football games.
Raiders.
And I actually watch your broadcasts, which are available on YouTube.
Yeah, they're out there.
Because I love to hear you say touchdown Raiders, because they got shellacked by Buffalo this past Sunday. My Raiders.
They're the real Raiders.
The real Raiders, that's right. Kind of. They're not the real Raiders, they're not in Oakland. But anyway, you are so connected, and this is going to embarrass you, I don't mean to. You're so connected to the community. You're so connected to local sports, and the young folks especially. It is important to play the games on campus.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Right.
It is. I mean, and I know the difficulty of your home games, or especially for baseball, is all the way across town. I mean, that's not easy. I get it. And the softball team, I mean, that's up the road at Northeast Park. I get that. They've been doing that for years, and you want to be on your campus. But the big issue I have with it is we're coming over budget on all of this, and city voters, and like I said, a sliver of city voters voted on this this past year, and we've seen, and of course that's not the only thing that was mentioned in the article here. The fine arts building too, administration, whatever was attached to this. There's been no progress, it seems like, on any of this because they're coming in over budget on all of the projects.
Right.
So if we're coming over budget on all of this, maybe there's some fat we need to trim off of some of the project, because let's face it, going back to the Lauderdale County School bond issue, there's a lot of maybe things you could trim to make it work. Is there's things that these ball fields they want to put in that they could maybe trim a little bit off of to come under budget.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, I know everybody wants the best of the best of the best, but it kind of bothers me a little bit that I say we, I'm not a city voter, I'm a county voter, but was voted on this past year. And when I see this information come out, it's like, well, where are we going with this?
Right.
I mean, that is, I'm not saying it's a poor use of taxpayer money, but the taxpayers deserve a better explanation than what we're getting right now.
Especially with the track record.
That too. So, and it's, I guess it would bother a lot of folks, and it should. You get this information today, and we've been talking about this Lauderdale County School bond issue for several weeks now. So we've got both school districts in bond issue controversy, which the city one, we can't do anything about. That's been voted on. That's been passed. That is what it is, which this county one's coming up October 3rd. So, but it's just very interesting.
And many people are only finding out about this basically now.
Yeah, they had the meeting back on Monday.
Right. And that's why I always push the fact that WALT, folks, is the place to go every morning. You got Rob, that's so connected to the community. You got Charles and Roger, who are businessmen and connected to the community. And you guys care. You're in the middle of this,
it's
from the get-go.
It's a lot going on. So let's go to the phone line this morning. Hey, caller, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Joe!
I love it when y'all do that. That makes me feel all tingly inside.
Well, Joe, bond issues don't make me feel very tingly.
Well,
bondage issues do.
Let me say something. I understand the fact that inflation is really out of control, but when it's that much out of control, that means the money's really not going where it's supposed to be going. Does that make any sense? How can you actually estimate something at one point on one day and it come out to be 10 times more that later when you get the project started?
Well, the thing about it is they received bids on August 24th for the new baseball and softball complex, and then all bids were received on the 12th, and they had to cut all of them down because they all came over budget. So,
well, of course, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The price of lumber is going up. The price of fuel pumps, everything is going up. There's no way to guarantee that price at that moment. Yeah, I can do it for $10 million, but once we get started and we get into the pricing, it's going to go up. But I think that's a little way too high.
Yeah.
And have you heard about the other scandal that's going on?
There's a lot of scandal going on. Lay it on us.
The one with Social Security.
No. Come on.
They are scamming people. They have been sending letters out to people saying that they were overpaid, and they're demanding the overpayment back in 30 days.
Wow.
Now, I got a letter like that, and I was in the Social Security office. And I said, look, what is going on with this money? And she said, ma'am, you're only allowed to make so much money when you get your Social Security. I said, but I'm not getting my Social Security. I said, I'm getting my husband's widow's pension. She said, that's the same thing. I said, well, it's not worded that way.
So that wasn't a scam letter. That actually came from the Social Security office.
That's correct.
Wow.
But what I'm saying is they did not notify people that they were cutting down and changing the rules about how much money you can make. There's a lot of people on disability that are not working that were told that they had received a letter that were overpaid. Now, how is that possible? They're supposed to notify you in a letter telling you, okay, this is how much money you're allowed to make when you get this pension. And I never got such a letter. So I'm wondering, where was the breakdown and why all of a sudden this is happening now? I mean, we've got illegals crossing the border. We're giving Iran a lot of money. We're spending money on Ukraine. I guess they figured that pot of gold needs to be stirred up a little bit more, and they're trying to get more money out of people who really don't have it to give.
Wow.
You see, Social Security originally was supposed to be a private fund. It was not supposed to be touched. And I don't remember whether it was Nixon or Johnson. I don't remember. Somebody had decided that something needed to be done. There was some kind of crisis, and they lifted that off of Social Security. So now it goes into a general fund, and everybody can play with that money. That's why the money in Social Security is running out.
Well, Joe, if you go back to the origins of Social Security under Franklin Roosevelt, he would be spinning in his grave if he saw what Social Security has turned into. It was never meant to live on. It was supposed to be supplemental to what you saved.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So when you got older, you knew good and well that you were going to be taken care of because you had paid into the system all those years. So my question is, where did all that money go? And about 10 years ago, there was a lady who did a study, and she said, if we would take the money we have for each person in the federal government under Social Security and say, okay, this is how much money you have that is coming to you in Social Security at your full benefit age, we will give you a voucher for that money. And once we do that, you can invest it and do whatever you wish with that money, and you are no longer allowed to go back to Social Security and say, I need money. Now, what do you think would have happened if they would have doled out, let's just say, $50,000 per person at one time?
Wow.
I think Walmart would have been out of big screen TVs pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty sure,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, how many people would still not be able to pay off their house?
Right.
Would still not be able to buy a car, would still not be able to get groceries, would still have to go to work.
Right.
So, you're talking about inflation. It's really ridiculous right now with how much money people are having to spend just to live. There was a video on TV the other day. She said, my husband and I, she said, and that's the young people, she said, I'm a nurse, my husband's a doctor. We make more than $300,000 a year, and we still can't afford to take our kids and put them in a good school and be able to live. She says, it shouldn't be like this.
Wow.
I mean, you can take that $300,000 and live in Mississippi really well, but there's other places where $300,000 is not going to give you much money.
No.
I mean, after the hurricane, I moved to Atlanta. My friend, she was given a house through some kind of program, and the lady told her, she said, you can stay in the house as long as you want. She said, I cannot rent it. She said, as long as you pay the utilities, she said, everything is fine. You know how much she could not rent that house for? It was a 4-bedroom house with 3 bathrooms, 3.5 bathrooms. And it was a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, right? That rent on that house was only $1,600 a month.
Wow.
And she could not find anybody to rent it. Now, you go to a neighborhood that's right maybe 5 miles away in Marietta. They were building condos for $350,000 base price. So it all depends on where you live, how much it costs you to live there. And with all this money that people are spending and not being able to still survive is really ridiculous. I don't understand where all this money is coming from that he can give it to Iran and he can spend it on Ukraine. And yet we've got people, older people, because I'm getting ready to get into Social Security. And I know that my check is not going to be anything I think I need to live on. But where is it all gone?
He's taking the money, honestly, Joe, from our kids and from our grandkids' future, honestly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And three things really quick. I have one of the best students I've ever taught. As an undergraduate, he actually went to Vegas and did a national conference. His work was so good. He is getting money for medical issues, right? He can't take a full-time teaching position because they will take away his money for his medical issues. Yeah. His medical issues are extreme. He got his PhD, he got his bachelor's in spite of, not because of. Very tough young man. The second thing is, this ties into Rob, is the fact that this is why it's important to vote.
Yeah.
All this stuff nationally we would not be knowing about if the Republicans didn't have the House. Well, folks, if you're going to be concerned about national, you got to be concerned about your own backyard. So get out and vote, especially when they come up with a date like October 3rd and change where you vote. And the third thing is, Joe, when you call in and you say there's another scandal, could you please really quick tell us that it's Social Security? Because you made me nervous. I thought maybe you knew something about me.
Let me just say this. I'm working on it.
I love it.
You know I love y'all. I'll talk to y'all later.
Bye, Joe.
Bye, Joe.
Oh, I love it.
I did. I drew up a little bit when she said, there's another scandal. I'm like, oh, why is she calling this morning? You know?
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. I love it. We're going to take a break. We've got a couple of bills to pay before we get to the top of the hour. Our number, 601-485-9191. I'd hate to have to follow Joe this hour. We'll be right back. All right, we got just a couple of minutes left before we get into Fox News here on Mornings in Meridian. Let's thank one of our fantastic sponsors before we get into the break, Premier Paint and Body.
Absolutely. Protecting people every single day. Folks, you got a small dent, you got a little wear on that vehicle, and you're thinking, well, it doesn't really matter. It still runs great, still gets great gas mileage. But the way they make these cars now, especially with the airbags and side airbags and the impact test they do, if you've got a dent or a crimp or something like that that you think's not really affecting the integrity of the car, it could very well be doing that. The least you can do, the very least you can do, is go down next door to Johnson Dodge on Highway 39, right here in Meridian, and go see Premier Paint and Body. Go see the fine folks there. We're talking about Danny Shelton and that great staff they have. Let them look over your vehicle, and they won't do any work on it until you say they can. And the fact is, sometimes they'll say, oh, you're fine.
Yeah,
you're fine.
You're right.
Come see us when you have a bigger problem. Over 120 years, we're talking about auto body work and office staff and their experience. So, folks, keep your loved ones safe. It's real easy to do. Johnson Dodge, right next door, Highway 39. 482-7246, Premier Paint and Body.
All right, we're going to take a break. I got Fox News next, along with the great Sean Hannity's Morning Minute, and we'll get back into more local stories. I want to get your take on this Lauderdale County school bond issue, because I know you're not with us on the show a whole lot, so I've introduced you to that off air this morning. Get your thoughts.
Sure.
So, and we'll get into that Marion Morris story as well. So we'll be back in just moments here on Mornings of Meridian. Stay close. Well, here we are again. Hour number 2 of Mornings in Meridian. Glad you folks are listening in this morning or watching over at our Facebook page, WALT Talk Radio, of course, online at WALTmeridian.com. Roger is absent today. He gets another red mark. And joining me this morning is Dr. Toby Bates.
He gets another red mark. Haven't heard that. The other day I had to leave class to run down to my office for a second, and I looked at one student, and I said, Ben, take names.
Really?
Remember that, taking names? Remember that?
I have a great story. I got to share it real quick.
Share it.
Years ago, before they did the remodel in this building, we got these nice floors now. I mean, it's a beautiful building. I remember when we had carpet in this building, and they had just put the new carpet down. I'm really showing how long I've been here. They put the carpet down, and I was in, every radio station has what we call a production studio, so where we do all our commercials that you hear on the air, and that room is still in the same location. It's in the middle part of this building here. So I was sitting in there, and our founder, I guess you would say, Mr. Holliday, was walking down the hallway, and they just put the carpet in. And people always go back to the coffee pot, fill their coffee up, and if they're not real careful, they're going to spill a little bit on the floor. Well, they just put the carpet in. He comes by and hands me a stack of sticky notes. He said, Rob, I need you to take names of anybody that drops that coffee on that carpet. I'm like, okay. Yep. So I sit there like a good student.
That's right.
And I'm taking names.
Take names, man.
So the things you do when you first get into radio.
I remember the carpet and the microphone. I hated it from like November to February.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'd reach up and touch the microphone and, it's like a 22 going off.
I know.
And just shock the mess out of yourself.
I know. So, when you said take names, that story just popped right in my head. So, good memories. So, let's go to the phone line this morning. Hey, caller, welcome in.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are y'all doing today?
Hey, Zane, did you like my red mark comment for Roger?
Yeah, I love that. Roger needs a lot of red marks.
A lot of red.
But hey, you found the best replacement for him.
Yeah, that's right. My friend Toby Bates.
Well, I'm not going to talk bad about Roger. Speaking of red marks, I owe him some green.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, so I'm going to be very nice to Roger.
Oh, okay.
Roger's great.
All right.
Well, you're only here when he's gone, so I mean,
I say, what are you losing here?
As if on purpose.
Hey, I'll pick and choose who comes on this show.
Zane, how you been?
Hey, Toby, I've been great. I was up in Tupelo the other day, and I debated on whether to call you or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I finally realized that since dealing with prostate cancer, every doctor I've ever met wants to stick something up my butthole, so I didn't call you.
Well, was it a weekday or a weekend?
It was a weekend.
Yeah, it's a good thing you didn't call me.
So, I was just my thought, I better not call him because it's just,
So there you
the
go. For future reference, weekends, no good.
That's right. And I'm not even a real doctor. That's what's scary.
Exactly.
I know. I thought, no, but every doctor I've run across, they just.
But he did stay at a Holiday Inn last night.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But no, I just want to call and say hello, see how you was going, and like I said, I spent actually 2 weekends up there working.
Oh,
and
yeah,
things
seriously.
didn't go right first weekend, so I had to come back second weekend, but it seemed everything was real good up there.
Yeah, seriously, please give me a call if you can. Did I put that bottle right in front of the camera?
Yeah.
Did I really?
Yeah, somewhat.
And but no, give me a shout. I'm down here most days on weekdays, and no, things are going great. We got a great batch of students for this fall semester at MSU Meridian, and programs there are blowing and going. You're seeing all that in the media and everything. Dr. Teardale Cruz and the new programs at MSU, and there's a lot of excitement around campus. And so come by and sign up for something. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, well, I hated history when I was in school.
I loved it.
But the older I get, the more I appreciate it. It's like really cool.
Well, you probably hated how it was taught to you, don't you think? Maybe?
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, and it scares me, Zane. It really does. And Rob and I talk about this a lot when we meet up here at the station at 3 a.m. to begin to prep for the show.
Oh, sorry I missed that one.
Is that, folks aren't interested in history. They're interested in their version of history, and that's a little spooky. That's a little scary. And people think, well, as long as I've got the internet, I've got history. No, right? And so, history doesn't make you apathetic to what's going on in the world, but it does give you a security blanket, so you don't get so worked up when MSNBC tries to make you so mad, or Fox or CNN tries to get you on a roll. So it's
I was watching CNN over the weekend, and I just happened to tune in and was sitting there watching the morning news. And we had a blood shortage a while back, or actually we're still in this blood shortage right now. Well, it used to be they'd say, oh, well, it's summertime and everybody's on vacation, so there's a shortage of blood. CNN now is saying it's global warming has caused a shortage of blood. And they went down a list of things. They're like, oh, well, it was a hurricane and it was this and it was that. And it's global warming did all this.
Wow.
It's been so hot. It's global warming. And I'm like, come on, people.
Jeez.
Wow. Well, you're old enough to remember in the 70s when they kept talking about the new ice age coming. Do you remember that? Newsweek, Time Magazine, New York Times, the same suspects were telling us there was an ice age on the way, and by 1985, temperatures would be like 7 degrees cooler.
Let's see, it's 2020. Okay.
That's right.
And then everything went the other way, and they changed it from global warming to climate change.
Climate change. Well, the global warming conferences kept getting snowed out. You know, that's the truth. They would have these, these global warming conferences, and unexpected snow would show up and snow them out.
And now they all fly their jets to all the conferences.
That's right. That's right.
Good Lord.
Carbon footprint. And
Carbon
all that
footprint.
Stuff.
Yeah, but we're buying offsets. We're buying offsets from some poor people in Africa.
Yeah.
So, there we go. Okay. Sounds like just a way to move money to me.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Zane, we got another phone call behind you, my friend.
You guys have a wonderful day. Take care.
Appreciate you. 601-485-9191. Caller, hang on just one moment because we need to thank one of our other fantastic sponsors. And, folks, when we talk about these sponsors, go out and support them because we love them here at Mornings Meridian. Who we got next on our list there?
Well, someone you're giving business to, Battery One Source.
Yeah, I think my wife is there right now with my vehicle because I had to steal hers this morning.
You woke up this morning and it just didn't
want to crank.
Didn't want to crank
I think
at all.
It may be the battery.
Now, had the battery been giving you any inclination that this might be happening?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, that can happen. Sometimes, it's one of these things where your car's just a little slower to start, or maybe there's not quite as much giddy up when you try to turn that key. And so that's the car trying to tell you need to get down and see John do 4 at Battery One Source. Because what's going to happen is that you're going to be going out to your car for a 3 o'clock in the morning radio prep meeting.
Yeah. Right.
And your car is going to pull a Biden. It's just going to sit there. It's just going to sit. You try to crank it, and it'll give you, instead of that nice rum, rum, rum. So 2618 North Frontage Road, 2618 North Frontage Road. Plenty of parking, Battery One Source. Not only batteries for your vehicle, they've also helped folks out who found old camcorders and things such as that. They helped a friend of mine out who found an old camcorder, couldn't find the battery, had a tape in it. They actually found a battery, had it sent to Battery One Source, and he actually found some video of some family members that had kind of passed away. It was a really sweet story.
Nice.
So, folks, go by and see them. 693-1500, Battery One Source.
Let's go back to the phone line. Hey, caller, good morning.
Hey, y'all, it's Paul.
Hey, Paul, what's up?
Well, I just had to call. Zane was providing a lot of flattery to Dr. Toby Bates about being the best replacement for Roger. And
I didn't hear that part.
I'm just, yeah, that's what he said. So kind of stood out to me. So I'm thinking I need to call and verify if that means that I'm the best replacement for Charles.
I think you're the best replacement for both.
No. I'm not going to take away your flattery that went to you. I'm just thinking.
I'm just going to step away and let y'all figure this out.
Yeah, but Zane also talked about probes and things like that. So,
Zane was one talking about doctors putting stuff in different places.
Right.
It sounded like he was blowing a little smoke himself. But,
I will say this. I am extremely blessed to have a deep bench to work with. How about that?
Mm-hmm. You are. You really are.
Well, is it a deep bench or a deep barrel? Because sometimes, I always say I'm from the bottom of the barrel.
Well, in your case, we'll use barrel.
Okay. Well,
because you would appreciate that more.
Well, Paul, people
If it
realize,
fits, wear it, you know.
People realize I fill in on like a 30-day, almost like it's community service. People have kind of noticed that pattern.
It's your twice a month duty.
That's right. Toby,
All right,
we'll have Toby
all
on the
right,
radio the
Toby.
same day he sees his parole officer. You know.
All right, Toby, what did you do?
That's right.
You're gonna have to elaborate.
Well, we're about to talk about the school.
What-
Well, we're about to talk about
back
the school
to-
bond issue, so that may get him in trouble. So,
Yeah, that'll be an interesting conversation from his perspective.
yeah, I mean, I want to get his take on it because he obviously lives up north now, and just want to get. I've kind of laid everything out for him during the breaks this morning, and he's read the bond issue and all the information. I think he's got a lot of questions.
Well, I'm gonna let y'all jump into that. I will say that I would agree with Zane. You're doing a great job,
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that.
and appreciate it when you get to fill in. It's always interesting.
I appreciate that as well. That's like when I would have dates with girls and their parents would ask them afterwards, "How was it with Mr. Toby?" It was interesting.
It was interesting.
Well, I didn't go there.
I got Joe talking about scandal, Zane talking about probes.
Right. Just a regular old morning. And morning's a Meridian.
I'm gonna let y'all get to it because I'm sure there are a lot of people anxiously awaiting your take on this.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, my friend.
Y'all have a good one. Bye.
See you, PT. Paul Tarver checking in this morning. He had a good mixed tape show the other night, too.
I was about to say, who is he talking about filling in? I mean, Paul's knowledge on, good Lord, he's a walking music log.
Yeah.
Paul would be the one that would build our radio station for us. Instead of us going to the music log
Right.
and figuring out the songs like we have.
Exactly.
Paul would just spit the stuff out.
All right, let's go back to the phone line this morning. Hey, caller, good morning. Okay, I hate it when that happens.
That's my wife.
All right, let's go to line 2 here. Hey, caller, good morning.
What are y'all talking about? Making a lift would be a better replacement for Roger?
No, we are not doing that.
How much paper you got?
I got endless supply. How about that?
Hey, when you think it couldn't get any worse with the illegals that's flooding into this country, Biden comes out yesterday and makes 500,000 of them legal. It's just 500,000 work visas in one day.
You see,
Venezuelans that's coming in here.
you see where Eagle Pass, Texas, has declared a state of emergency? That's how bad it's getting. I mean, it's unreal the amount
We
of
don't
folks.
have a crisis on the border. We don't have any problems.
Nah.
It's all good, Ask Kamala. She's down there. She's up on it. So, but anyway, 500,000 of them with work visas are untouchable now. So we will food, clothes, house, educate, and medical care for them bums for the rest of their worthless lives. So,
Wow.
instead of them going in there and making their own country better like we did here in America, they just going to come up here like all the rest of them doing, just going to come over here and live off Americans. So anyway, we only have so much natural resources. It's going to count. Sooner or later, it's going to happen.
Sure.
They're going to run out of food, and then they're going to come for you and your family's food. Then what's going to happen? But anyway, thanks, guys.
All right, appreciate you.
He reminds me of, I mentioned this before, Kathy has an employee. She worked, Kathy runs a nursing home in North Mississippi.
Yeah.
As she did here at Bedford.
Hey, Kathy.
And one of her top lieutenants' husband just became an American citizen. He's from Mexico. And she asked him, she said, you're getting everything already.
Sure.
Why do you want to do this? And he said, because I want to vote. I want to have the right to vote.
Wow.
You don't realize what a big deal that is. He's just as angry about what's going on. He said, I went through the process. I waited. I took my time. I did the proper paperwork.
The legal process.
That's right. And
Yeah.
he says, and among these groups, you have people who want to be like me. They really want to have a better life. Of course, they're going to take what's being given to them, of course.
Sure.
He said, but also in this group, you have folks who should not be around anybody in public in any country. He says, you're not getting the best. Of course, Trump got in trouble for that.
Yeah.
He said, but in there, you do have people who are hardworking, want something good for their family, and they're going to take advantage of what Biden's given them. He's at the same time, you have people in there who are extremely dangerous.
Wow.
And I like his take on it because, again, being a native of Mexico, he's gone through the process, and he wanted to become an American citizen so he could vote. because he talks about what a huge thing that is.
Yeah.
And he's very angry about some of these talks going on about naturalizing, as we just talked about, a large number of these immigrants en masse, which give them the right to vote, right? But the Democrats are having a little bit of trouble with some of this because, remember, the vast majority of these immigrants are Catholic.
Right.
And they're not big fans of one of the Democrats' tentpole policies, which is abortion.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
The issue of abortion. and so it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch. The Democrats thought they had the Hispanic vote locked up in Florida and even possibly Texas in 2016. Didn't quite go that way.
It's that population is trending slowly in another direction.
Yes. Yes.
It's something to watch, I think, once we get to next year for sure.
Well, in 2016, Trump got the highest African American and Hispanic vote of any Republicans, and in 2020, the number went up again.
Absolutely. Wow. That's crazy. 601-485-9191 here on Mornings in Meridian. And who we got next on our sponsor list over there?
Well, we've got Trucker Supply.
Truckers! I love me some truckers.
It's like my babysitter. When we lived here, Kathy would take me to Truckers. If she had to run to, Joann's and pick up some thread, which was just fascinating for me to go, right? Toby, you think this is more azure or more maroon? I'm going to see maroon, right, with the color.
Yeah.
So as much as I loved picking out thread and patterns, she would take me to Trucker Supply and drop me off. Because it's like, and this is going to sound horribly sexist, but it was like a man cave. It was so cool. All the tools, I didn't know I needed. It was a fantastic place to go. And folks, you can have the same experience. And they've been around as long as I have, since 1969. The Carr family and great service. When you first walk in the door, they've got right there on the counter in front of you a stack of their specials. And these aren't just things that you wouldn't want to get. I mean, these are things that you want, you need, and they're knocking prices off on them. And again, the Milwaukee brand, they've got the Milwaukee brand tools, which you can't break. You cannot break. If I can't break it, right, and I can break an anvil, right? And
right into
so great products, tools, hand tools, but also things for the yard as well. You got the weed eaters, got the leaf blowers, right? Generators. The hurricane season's popping up a little bit here. So, folks, go by and see them. The big red, white, and blue All-American building right there in front of Sam's. It's on Highway 19 South, but you know where it is, right down from the snow cone place. Trucker Supply, anything you might need, one-stop shop for tools and for funsy things. You can give them a call at 693-2316, 693-2316. But better than that, go by there, walk the shelves, and make your man happy and your woman at Trucker Supply.
Let's sift through some comments on Facebook. I usually try to do that at least once a day here on the show because I'm like an octopus. I'm going everywhere, pushing buttons here and there. We will get to the school bond issue again this morning. I know the school board and the superintendent love us just continuing to talk about that. Zena said, hey, great to see Dr. Bates this morning. That was from earlier, so there you go.
Oh, great.
We did talk about Social Security earlier when Joe called up on the show, and Michael on Facebook said, and makes a perfect point here, a professor I had said that Social Security was designed to not pay out. It was a Ponzi scheme. The retirement age of 65 is higher than the life expectancy of 59.9 for a man and 63.9 for a woman in 1935.
No, that is true.
Yeah. Zane is apologizing to Paul. He just said, sorry, Paul, about what he said earlier. And we just had our good friend Richard comment on Facebook a few moments ago as well. Having moved to Houston a year ago, lots of Hispanics here. Vast majority are very kind, hardworking people. The problem is the criminals who sneak in as well.
That's right. That's right.
That's a big one right there.
That's right.
These cartels, the fentanyl, we've talked about that in great length on the show before.
That's right.
That is
and that poor child up in New York.
Yes.
That daycare.
Man.
I mean, I have a granddaughter. It's 1 year old, and the father was. I mean, I watched him the other night on the news.
Break your heart.
And it and fentanyl has, just look at when fentanyl started coming to the country in large numbers, and then you can match it up to some particular policies as well.
Well, they had found, I believe it was it an 18-wheeler or something along those lines where there was fentanyl just stashed everywhere. I mean, this stuff is pouring in like crazy, and the criminals that are coming across, I mean, but it's an open door.
It is. They've picked up people on the terrorist watch list. They have found Korans. They have found, prayer mats. And again, that is not suggesting that everyone who uses those is an issue, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just Hispanics. It's not just folks from Latin America who are using that border to come into the United States.
Absolutely. Got another comment on here. Miss Lawanda wants to know, does WALT have an app? Not yet. We're working on that. So, like I said, we got to learn to crawl before we can walk.
The streaming is great. I mean,
Yeah.
I now have to wear a shirt when I do the show.
Thank God.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back. We will get into the school bond issue after the break. I know you got a lot of questions about this as you kind of look at it from the outside in here. So we'll get to that and much more. And your phone calls at 485-9191. We'll be back. I figure we do some Ghostbusters this morning since Bill Murray is having a birthday today. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. That's right.
73 today. Of course, Groundhog Day, one of my personal favorites.
Let's see. We've also had Caddyshack.
Oh, yeah. You know, you think about it, across the street in California. Me and Roger, we will quote that. It's my favorite movie of all time. I love me some Caddyshack.
Well, I need to get you a book. I got Roger a book on the making of Caddyshack.
Oh, it's great
yeah,
stuff.
So I need to get you that one.
Well, since Toby's on the show, we got to do this. All these celebrities are having birthdays today, so take it away, President Biden.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alvin. Happy birthday to you.
It's just sad.
It really is.
You know, I mean, he's been in politics a long time, and I know this was a goal of his, but now at this point, it's just you know, and their enemies will take advantage of. That's what spooks me.
They're all just sitting back laughing away.
Well, you really think that F-35 went down? That thing can land vertically.
Well, the one thing that scares me is Brett Baer did a interview with the Saudi prince yesterday. Did you see that, where he said that Biden was sharp? And I'm like, are you drinking? What are we talking about here?
What does sharp mean in Arabic?
I don't know.
We need to look that up.
Well, we need to. So, we've been talking about this morning. Obviously, every day here on Mornings of Meridian, I think it is our duty to give you the voting precincts for the upcoming special October 3rd election. And like I said, it's a goal of mine every single day to be sure you folks get this information out there, because this is a very different scenario than going to your regular polling place. Once again, just remember, voters inside the city limits are not eligible to vote on this county school bond election on October 3rd. Now, most every voter outside the city limits can vote, with the exception of a few, which are considered located inside the actual separate school district. Now, just reference your voter registration card. It's going to be on the very far right-hand side. You're going to see that SCHD. If it has those letters, SEP, meaning separate, you cannot vote. Now, if it has a number on it, like the example that Donna Jo gave us in her email, it's got a 1 on there. If it's got any kind of numeral on there, you can vote in the upcoming special election. Of course, your county precinct location will list which of the 4 school districts are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and here are those districts. If you usually vote at Bailey, Center Hill, Collinsville, Martin, or Sickalina, you will vote at West Lauderdale Elementary on Highway 495. If you usually vote 17 Causeyville, Odom, Vinville, Wynot, or Mount Gilead, you will vote at Southeast Middle on Old Highway 19 Southeast. If your usual polling precinct is the Landing on 39, New Lauderdale, Daleville, East Lauderdale, Marion, Kewanee, Russell, or Toom-Suba, you will vote at Northeast Middle School out here on Highway 39 North, not too far from us. And finally, if you vote at Pickard, Clarkdale, Meehan, South Nellyburg, or 0, you will vote at Clarkdale Attendance Center on Highway 145. So there you go. Those are the voting precincts. Once again, our daily chore has been checked off. If you got any questions, you can call us here at 485-9191. And Toby, the reason we like to give this information out a lot is because we don't want to flood the phone lines down at the circuit clerk's office, because we know Donna Jill is always real busy down there. She's got this election coming up, and we got the November one coming up again too. But just in case you do need her, 693-1683. That's 693-1683.
She's wonderful. Isn't she great?
Fantastic.
How she balances all this.
Yeah. So, but Toby, I know we got a phone call on the line. I want to get your thoughts on this whole deal coming up, but let's take the phone call first. Hey, caller, good morning.
Good morning, boys.
Hey, Scott, what's up?
Well, I got a question, and it may have already been answered, and I just didn't hear it on my drives to work.
Okay.
Only the county folks can vote, but the city folks live in the county. Will this tax increase apply to the people that live in the city as well?
Good question. I would think it just depends on what taxes that you pay. Do you pay the city school taxes or the county school taxes? If it's the county, it would go toward the county. So,
well, I understand that it will go towards the county, but
yeah,
I'm just thinking, didn't know if that $3 million was just on the county people who live in the county school districts or if it was across the entire county.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, one of the questions.
Yeah, Toby's got something here.
Yeah, one of the Q&A, Scott, that I've been looking at. The question asked, "Will borrowing this $12.5 million cause my taxes to go up?" And the answer was yes, it will. Please refer to Chart 3 to help you understand this best.
Chart 3.
Yeah, Chart 3. Additional taxes of 3.15 mils to cover the cost of the project, and the bond is expected to last 15 to 20 years. So Chart 3, and this is from the online site here. Let me look at Chart 3 real quick.
Is that the Lauderdale County Schools website?
This is actually the Meridian Star.
Okay.
I was going to get this is from September 16th, and
let me see here.
Yeah. And I cheat. I look at my phone, but you actually go to the papers, which I should do that since I'm the historian here. But Chart 3 was talking about, referring to Chart 3 will let you know whether or not your taxes go up. That's a great question, though. It's one I have not heard answered myself. You're right.
Yeah, because the one thing the Meridian Star did publish, they published a what will the CT bond cost, and they've got a breakdown of residential property, motor vehicles, and business and other non-residential property. It's a lot of numbers and figures on there, and I'm kind of scanning over this as well. But it's a heck of a question, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I got a good question. That's all I needed to do for today. I can go home.
You can go home and have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen. I'll wrap up this day at West Lauderdale coaching volleyball.
I tell you what, we were talking about volleyball during the break, Scott, and volleyball has become one of my new favorite sports because I do the announcing up at Mississippi State now, and it's one of my it's one of my favorite things to do. I got to go up there this weekend. So,
well, Rob, I can't tell you how beneficial it would be if you would start coming to play with us.
I don't know if you want that or not.
I know. We take all skill levels. We warm you up.
I don't know. I watched that SEC volleyball, and I'm like, wow.
Big time.
In the high school.
Yeah, and I was noticing that only 3 SEC teams are in the top 20.
Isn't that amazing?
And look how phenomenal the games are that you're calling.
Mm-hmm.
And those aren't even the top 20 teams in most cases.
Yeah, because
it's a very exciting sport.
Yeah, the highest ranked team from the SEC right now is Florida, and I know Alabama's Alabama's 10-1, but they're not ranked that high. But yeah, like Nebraska, Wisconsin, some of those Big Ten schools are pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watched BYU last night play Houston, and both of those are in the top 20.
Yeah,
an exciting game. Even though it was exciting, BYU just absolutely spanked Houston. I don't know how BYU's not ranked higher unless their blocking abilities just won't be as good against other teams. But they went on an 11-point run, and since you call it, you know how hard it is to go on that length of a run.
Very difficult.
Points, and it was all because they were blocking.
Wow.
I mean, Houston could get nothing over.
Wow.
They couldn't dink. They couldn't find a hole on the floor anywhere.
Wow. 11 straight points. That's crazy.
All the Meridian listening to us just had to follow us chasing that squirrel.
That's fine. I don't mind chasing the volleyball squirrel. I like it. So, hey, my friend, good to hear from you this morning.
Guys.
See you. All right, 601-485-9191. There's your volleyball update from.
It is so much fun to watch.
It really is. It is. I will say this. Here locally at our high schools, it is becoming a very popular sport. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is fast growing. I know Lamar has won a state championship already in it, what they're doing out there. I mean, Clarkdale West, all these schools are just doing amazing things with that sport. But going back to the bond issue real quick, once again, our number 485-9191. Toby, from the outside looking in, I've kind of presented you the information. I've given you the bond language. You've kind of read through some of this stuff. I mean, kind of what are your thoughts from an outside perspective, I guess?
You gave me a lot more details than I had. I'd heard a little bit because the Meridian Community College is involved in it as far as, making sure there's no repetition of the programs they're offering. And I'm a big fan of Meridian Community College, and so I was interested. What concerns me is the same thing I'm hearing from a few other people when they would mention this, and I wouldn't really comment because I don't know a great deal about it, is when you're dealing with this amount of money just on the heels of the $8.5 million.
Yeah, the $8 million from the state.
$8 million from the state. That's right. Which there's $6.5 million of that still in the coffers.
Correct.
Right. So now you're going and you're asking for a little over 12. And so what concerned some people was that we have not, first of all, the track record concerned us a little bit, right? About our taxes go up immediately, but the buildings don't, right?
Yeah.
And that's in the past. That's a concern they've got from the past. And the fact that the October 3rd election, why? You know, because we're already concerned, and you talk about it all the time, and you rightfully do, about voter turnout is so important. And that's when we know that we have a November. Now we have an October date, you know, which is very important about our taxes going up, right? And so the concern there is, and I was just hearing you talking about if you vote in Sucalina or Collinsville, you go to West Lauderdale to vote. Where are you going to park? Both my kids went to West Lauderdale. Where am I going to park to get to vote?
Yeah.
So I've got to remember there's an October 3rd. I've got to pull up to the building. It's probably going to be hot. Am I willing to park, you know, down by Boatner Field and then walk up, you know? So it's the 6.5 that's still in. It's the 12 million you now need. It's that we're not really seeing what you've done. What I would love when they propose something like this is to come in and say, hey, we asked for this money a few years ago or last year. Look what we've done, right? And that is, to me, a big part of it as well. Also, there's the story in the Meridian Star said there's 60 kids currently using this. You know, they want to get up to 450. There's 60 kids right now in this program. But they didn't explain why there's only 60. Is there only 60 because the facility is the way it is, and that's why we want to go bigger? You know, they're kind of taking the attitude, if we build it, they will come.
Right.
We've seen that not happen in Meridian several times.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so just from the outside looking in, that's the concerns I had. Those are the things that jumped out at me. I thought there was some vagueness a little bit in how it's written. I understand why they wrote it this way.
Yeah, you're talking about the bond language.
The bond language, yeah, because they're trying to cover all the bases of what might happen: the borrowing, purchasing, erecting, repairing, equipping, remodeling. I get all that.
Now, the one thing I did neglect to tell you about the language in the bond issue, at one point, the purchasing of school buses was in the bond language, and that got eliminated before they officially pushed it through.
Okay.
So that was on there, but they eliminated that from the language.
Okay.
But still, I can see where if you're an outside person looking in at the language, the CT portion of that is listed last. But of course, according to the school district, at 2 of the 4 discussion meetings they've had so far, because they're doing 4 of these kind of open Q&A forum type things, and all 4 of these school districts, they've already been at Southeast already and Northeast, and of course they're going to have the other 2 next week. But you know, the biggest thing has been the CT portion has been basically mentioned last or toward the end of the bond issue. But, of course, they said, well, when you work with the attorneys and the bond language of this, and that, you know, that's how it's presented.
Right.
So there's a lot of legal strings you have to kind of cut and go through on this stuff. So,
and with all they've already done, the remodeling and things, the 60,000-foot area, and they only spent $1.5 million of the $8 million, right?
Yeah.
Now you're asking for 12. Well, why not continue to do it step by step? Look how much you did with $1.5 million, and you know, grow the program incrementally instead of trying to go from 60 to 450.
And here's the other thing too. In the Meridian Star today, you've got the Meridian Public School District. They did a $34 million bond issue this past year, and some of that going toward these ball fields. Well, they're not going through on the project just yet because it's over the budget. So who's to say with this particular project, if they want all the bells and the whistles and all the nice things, who's to say that some of that won't go over budget?
Right.
If they want the nicest, the best of the best. Just saying.
No, again, what I've picked up from talking to people around actually the city, I haven't talked about in the county, is that they're all for this program. Heck, I'm for this program.
We all agree on that.
Right, absolutely. But to make a jump from 60 current students to 450, you know, with no timetable. There's no timetable there other than the 15 or 20 years that our taxes are going to be raised based on this particular bond.
Yeah. Let's go to the phone line this morning at 485-9191. Hey, caller, welcome in.
Good morning.
Hey.
I had a question about our safety of our schools. If some kid brings some fentanyl to the school, are the nurses prepared to have it, Narcan to counteract it? I was wondering how many of them have anything, a supply of it somewhere or another, where they can help.
That's a heck of a question.
That's a great question
Yeah.
because you don't have to ingest this stuff. Just touch it.
Yeah, really.
You know? I mean, that's what happened to that poor child.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
That's what got me thinking about it, and I just wanted to call and see if anybody else maybe knows about it. So
Okay.
I appreciate your show. Thank
Absolutely. Appreciate you. 601-485-9191.
You know what?
Yeah.
That'd be a great question to ask the chief of police because she's on here so much. Sorry. But Sheriff Solly, right? What? Oh, I'm just teasing. Come on. I mean, she's busy.
Open door.
You know?
Always here.
Well,
you
sure,
can always
she's
come
always
in.
invited, right?
Yeah,
And
always
she's
invited.
been on here.
Yeah.
Right. But that's a great question for the schools because, I mean, that's terrifying to
It
think
is.
about. You already have to worry about so many things for school security. Now you just have something you could just come in contact with it.
Yeah, because of what happened up in New York with that deal, that was just...
It was on the mats, right? It was on the
it
play mat.
was on the play mats.
And one child died and 2 went to the hospital.
Jeez.
Right? So
I would think they would have that available on hand. Like I said, I don't know, but I would hope so.
I would hope so. Again, but that's why I'm not the chief of police and I'm not running schools because I just these folks, what they deal with every single day, good mercy.
Yeah. Before we take our next break here, let's go back to the phone line. Hey, caller, welcome in.
Appreciate it, guys. I was curious about the percentage of this bond. What's the percentage per taxpayer? My understanding is it's going to be like $31 a thousand of your property value. Am I correct on that?
Let me look at my chart again here
Yeah,
because
I
we got chart 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 here. Let me go back to this.
I did something really basic. I looked at the amount they were asking for versus the population of the county.
Yeah.
And it came out to like $165 a person overall.
Well, the way they've got it listed on this one chart here, this is data based on a tax levy of 3.15 mils, which the Lauderdale County School District estimates will be sufficient to cover debt service on the $12.5 million bond. They have residential property listed on here, and they've got 5 different categories on assessed value. Say if you have assessed value of your property is, say, $10,000. The tax increase will be $31.50 annually. Now, that's not your true value of your home. Now, if you had a true value of $200,000, the assessed value, 10% of the true value would be 20%, and your taxes would go up $63. So
that's what I'm saying. That was my point. I mean, the taxpayers that have worked and built their houses and have something nice and is worth $300,000 or $400,000 are the ones that are going to be paying the bulk of this bond back.
Well, and the thing about it is that's just residential property. I didn't even mention motor vehicles and business and other non-residential property is going to be included as well. So it's not just going to be a tax on your actual property. It could be motor vehicles as well, obviously, on your car tag. I think we may have lost him there. I know he's in a kind of a bad... there you go. We got you back there.
Yeah. I don't know how to convey it to the public, but this thing does not need to pass. They have mismanaged the money that they have now without getting more from the taxpayers because we're going to put the bill for this thing. If you work, you pay taxes, and you've accrued value on your property, they're going to hammer us.
Yeah.
But anyway, just my opinion.
All right. Appreciate you out there. All right.
Punishing success. That's
yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
People have a lot of questions still. No matter how you slice and dice it. 12 days away. We're getting closer. So we'll take a break and wrap up the show after this. No reason, just felt like it. A little Ray Charles this morning.
No secret message in there for someone named Jack you're mad at or anything?
No, not really. Okay. 601-485-9191. We've got just a couple of minutes left. We will get to that Meridian Moore story here in just a minute. But first, let's thank our friends down at Purvis Business Machines.
Oh, we can do that Moore story tomorrow. I'd rather brag on Jerry and Betty Purvis. 693-2679. The cool kids say 693 copy. Talking, of course, of Purvis Business Machines. You know, COVID changed a lot of things about our businesses, and a lot of folks have gone home with their businesses.
Yeah.
And even that business has gone home, you still look like you got a big old professional building with all the windows and great parking and all that kind of stuff. And you can look that way in everything that your business does if you will go down and you will talk to Jerry and Betty Purvis at Purvis Business Machines. Tell them what kind of business you got. Tell them what kind of volume you have, what you're looking to do every month, and they'll pick the best machine for you and show you why. You can talk to them about buying, leasing. You can talk to them about the fact that it would be the best worker you've ever had because it sits over in the corner, does exactly what it's supposed to, right? And if there's ever a problem, which I've never heard of one, you know, they can send the folks out to take care of it. They are all over Mississippi State. Every student that gets an exam from me, you know, they first curse me, and then they're really upset that Purvis Business Machine is working really well, too. So, folks, go down and talk to them. They'll give you exactly what you need and take good care of you, too. So go by and see them, all right? 693-2679, right next door to Meridian Little Theater, Highway 39. And, you know, they've been doing this since 1979.
Wow.
You know, that's because they're good, folks. That's what you're supposed to get from that. 693-2679, Purvis Business Machine.
A couple of programming notes. Of course, being Thursday, later on tonight at 6:30, we will have Hey Coach, the Alabama football coaches show tonight with Nick Saban and Eli Gold. That'll air at 6:30 this evening here on WALT. And, of course, more Alabama football here on the station this Saturday as Ole Miss comes to Tuscaloosa. Should be a heck of a football game this Saturday. 13 versus 15. Have we ever thought that Alabama being ranked 13th? But we still got a lot of season to go here. This will be week 4, but they're going to be in T-Town. 2:30 kickoff. We'll have coverage starting at 11:30 this Saturday on WALT.
Saban always wants to win.
Yeah.
He always wants to beat Ole Miss. There's a difference in winning and beating somebody.
Well, there's a fella across the sideline that used to work for him, and old Lane Kiffin, and I know Lane wants to beat Nick pretty bad.
Little smarmy, skinny guy, and but you know it's not bragging if you can back it up.
Hey, Lane Kiffin is a heck of a football coach. Nick Saban is the legend he is, and boy, Lane would love to get one over on Nick this weekend.
That's right.
So, but yeah, we'll have the game here on WALT starting at 11:30 with pregame coverage. So we'll have the Alabama Ole Miss game on this Saturday. I tell you what, we'll hang on to that Meridian Moore story till tomorrow because we're about out of time here on Mornings in Meridian. Of course, you have we'll say that'd be a good thing to say for Fun Friday.
Fun Friday? Okay.
Fun Friday. Yeah, we'll save it for Fun Friday.
And again, what if woke people went and changed our country music? Because we heard country music's racist, you know.
Yeah, because Meridian Morris made that comment, what was it, a few days ago about how country music songs are going back to being racist roots.
Yeah. So, like, you know, again, I'll give you a couple real quick. Man, I feel like a woman today. That's one they would write. All the sexes live in Texas.
Oh,
you know.
God.
So again, these are if the far woke folks went back and changed and made it more politically correct our country music.
On that note, we're going to say hit the road, Jack. How about that? Toby, always good to see you. We'll have you back tomorrow morning as well.
Oh, okay.
And we're also going to have a guest from MSU Meridian on the show tomorrow as well.
Marion Swindell.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on there as well. And, folks, have a good rest of your Thursday. Glenn Beck is up next, followed by Clay and Buck, the great Sean Hannity, and then, of course, Joe Pags on your drive home. Toby, say goodbye.
Goodbye. Buy local.
There we go. Buy local, folks. Have a good one.